LakelandCarKeys.com. I'm currently sitting in a 2013 Ford Mustang, and this is a call I get a lot from a shop. We got a customer's car here. The key light's flashing. They have the key. Can you come reprogram it? And, I try to tell these shops, 99 out of 100 times, it's not the key. There's something else going on in the issue. And I know Ford's, depending on the year and the model, the key information that the transponder, I should say, that's going to allow this car to start, the information stored in the body control module, the engine control module, and the gauge cluster. And all three of these modules need to be able to talk to each other to say that, the coil around the ignition is reading the correct transponder information, and you can start the vehicle. Now, if one of those modules is not online or not communicating or has the wrong information, it'll trip the immobilizer light, and, people who aren't properly diagnosing the car will say, oh yeah, the key needs to be reprogrammed. Now, Fords in themselves, in order for me to reprogram that key, I would have to erase the key, and then we would have to add in a minimum of 2 keys. So, I'm not a mechanic, I don't do diagnosis, but, if you want me to erase the keys and program the new keys, at the very minimum, I have to make you a new key. But also, you gotta take into consideration that that's probably not gonna solve your issue. So if you hire someone to come out and do something, and they tell you that, they don't think that this is going to resolve their issue, you got 2 choices. Either you can listen to them and try to do some more diagnosis, or you could pay them to do the job and, don't complain at the end of the day if it didn't do what it wanted you to do. Alright, so, this is where I'm at. I got to see what these people want to do. Do they want to pay me to make a new key? Now, I've been wrong, and I've had these, program new keys and be fine. But like I said, more than likely, it's not just I need to program this key issue. Alright, thanks for watching, LakelandCarKeys.com. Alright, so this is a continuation of that last video where I just talked about, if you need key programming or not. But I'm just going to go into some of my basic diagnostics of, what I usually do to try to see, what's going on. So the first thing right now was able to automatically read the VIN number. When you go and you try to read the VIN number and it doesn't come up or it doesn't read, that's usually a good indication that your engine computer your ECM or PCM is not working. Alright, so we're going to select blade key, and what we'll do is we'll do a immobilizer system scan, and basically it'll tell me, basic information, how many keys are in the system, what modules might have codes. So right now, the 2 modules that looked up was the IPC, which I believe that's the instrument panel cluster, and the engine control module. So they both have codes in them. So right now, the cluster has a passive anti-theft code, lost communication with compass module, lost communication with compass module, invalid data received from ECM PCM. So just that one code will throw, incorrect information. But if nothing has been changed, why is the code in the PCM now coming up as invalid? So I'm going to try to erase these codes and see if they come back. And it said no DTCs. So let me just look at what the engine control module was. So engine control module said theft detected, vehicle immobilized, and 2 oxygen sensors. I'm going to go ahead and erase those codes. Alright, so that theft detected came back automatically. I'll shut the key off a second, turn the key on, and this is still flashing. Let me try to erase these codes one more time. Alright. So that theft detected will not just automatically erase, but what I was talking about, the number of keys programmed, we currently have 2 keys in this vehicle, and then the minimum number of keys is 2. So right now they only have 1 key. If I erase the key to add them back in, I'm going to have to make a second key for it to be able to work.
I want to learn, but my brain don't work.
Yep, so that Ford Mustang that we were working on, we're going to go ahead and make them a new key. So basically I have it in their original key, the machine now. It's decoding all the cuts, and then I will run those cuts through my machine's code fill program, and it will give me a valid key code, and then I'll cut them a new key by key code. And what I always say to people when I'm cutting a new key by key code, what I mean is, alright, so if this key is 10 years old, and this one's not bad at all, but a lot of times, you know, this is going to start wearing out. And what happens is, you know, so say if this is a, you know, 343, after it wears out, it might be a 342, or, you know, one number might be off, or, you know, halfway in between. So when you cut by code, what it does is it cuts by the numerical distance that the cut should be in depth. Whereas, you know, it's not copying this. So like if I use this machine and did a side-by-side copy, and, you know, 1 digit's off, 1 digit's going to be off on the new machine by doing side-by-side copy. Whereas when I run by code, I can pull the code out and get it done. So I'm going to get this new key in the machine and go ahead and get that cut. Alright, so I got the new key in the machine, and the machine's just checking all the parameters of where the key is located, and then it's going to go ahead and start the cuts, and it's cutting the same information on both sides of the key. This one usually does about 2 passes. Sometimes it could be 3, depending on what the depths of the cut are. Yep, so we'll just go over to the other side. Now we can go ahead and move on to programming. Alright, so on these Ford keys, you have a programming procedure for the remote and the transponder. There's 2 separate procedures. The remote is an onboard procedure, which anybody could do themselves. The transponder, you're going to need a programmer to be able to program these keys. Alright, so the procedure for this is you're going to put the key in. It could be any key, it don't matter. It could be a cut blade, anything. And you're going to turn the car on to off 8 times. And on the 8th time, you're going to leave it on. The lock should cycle. Hit any button on the remote that you want to program. You could do multiple at once. The locks will cycle after each button you hit to indicate that it picked up the key signal. And then when you shut the key off and turn it off, the lock should cycle one more time, indicating that you're now out of programming mode. Alright, so we're going to put it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the lock should have cycled. And they didn't. I don't think I actually went into programming mode. So always make sure your locks are open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there we go. They just cycled. We went to programming mode. Alright, they cycled again. They indicated pick that up. So it honked that time. That's letting us know that that key is already in the system. And then we unhook it. And now that remote part is programmed to the vehicle. Alright, so from the programmer, we already did our immobilizer system scan. So I am going to go down and select all keys lost. That will essentially erase all the keys out the system, and it tells you at least 2 keys are needed to complete the learning. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hit no. I'm going to show y'all something a little bit different. So say a hypothetical. Say that the pickup ring is bad here. When we go to do our all keys lost, it's going to erase all the keys, and then we got to add 2 keys in. But if our pickup ring is bad, it's not going to allow us to add those 2 keys back in. So what we want to do is escape out of here. We're going to go back into add a key guided, start. So basically we're going to just try to add the transponder and the new key and see if the car can detect it and add it into the system. If it does, we know that our pickup ring is good. Alright. But if it does fail just to add the single key by itself, that could be a good indication that the antenna pickup ring that detects the key is no good. Alright, so we're going to have to go through a 10-minute wait here. So I'll cut the video and I'll cut it back in once we're into the programming. Alright, so we're going through the wait to program, and usually when it gets to about 85% it goes through like it just did. So it currently says we have 2 keys in the system. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And it says learning was successful, so 3 keys are in the system. And that one started it up. So why this other key was not working, who knows, but you know, so now we're to the point where we know our ignition coil works. We know, you know, the key starts up, the vehicle runs, everything's on. Now we could, you know, attempt to do an all keys lost, erase all the keys out, and add both keys in and see if reprogramming this key makes a difference. I highly doubt it, but so the code that was in the system was a theft detected code. So now that we added the key in, let's see if this original still works. Let's see how we get the fast flashing immediately. That means the transponder in this key, even though I could put it in my key machine and read that, you know, it's the correct transponder, it has some type of failure in it, so the car does not detect it. And, you know, making a new key did solve the problem, which I didn't think it would. But we have 3 keys in the system, vehicle runs, and they are good to go. LakelandCarKeys.com.